Why is it so hard to say no? Not no to strangers, not no to inconvenience, but no to the people you love, no to the people who need you, no to the request that arrives with a weight of guilt already attached to it. Most people, when asked why they cannot say no, give some version of the same answer. They say, "I do not want to hurt anyone." The Stoics had a different answer. They said, "You cannot give what you do not first protect." The modern conversation about boundaries is largely a therapeutic one. It talks about trauma responses, about the psychology of people-pleasing, about patterns established in childhood. All of this is true and valuable, but it tends to address the symptom, the inability to say no, without addressing the underlying philosophical confusion that makes the symptom so persistent. The confusion is this: most people who struggle with boundaries have, somewhere beneath the surface, a belief that their own needs, their own time, their own energy are less legitimate than the needs of others. Not less urgent, less legitimate. They believe at some level that attending to themselves is selfish, that the person who protects their time is cold, that the person who says no is unkind. The Stoics found this belief not merely unhelpful, but philosophically incoherent. And they had a precise 2,000-year-old argument for why. Seneca, writing in the 1st century AD, opens one of his most urgent letters with a line that has lost none of its force. "Ita fac, mi Lucili, vindica te tibi." Do this, my Lucilius, claim yourself for yourself. The letter is about time, but it is also, in its deeper logic, about exactly this. The Stoics made a distinction that the modern world has largely forgotten. They distinguish between two categories of things that are ours and things that belong to others. What is ours in the deepest sense is our rational faculty, our attention, our considered response to the world. This is not selfishness. This is the seat of everything we can offer anyone. A doctor who does not sleep is not more giving than one who does. They are less capable. A parent who never rests is not more loving. They are more depleted. A person who never says no eventually has no self left to bring to the relationships they were trying to protect. Epictetus, who was a slave, understood this with particular clarity. He could not control what was demanded of him, but he had learned through philosophy to distinguish between what could be taken and what could not. His body could be commanded, his attention, his values, his soul's governing faculty. Those remained his. The boundary for the Stoics was not a wall built against others. It was the preservation of the inner citadel, so that there was something inside worth sharing. The Stoics had a concept called the hegemonikon, the rational, governing part of the soul. This is what you use to think, to judge, to love well, to contribute meaningfully to the people around you. To exhaust it through constant accommodation of others' demands is not generosity, it is negligence. Marcus Aurelius writes in the Meditations, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." The retreat he is describing is not escape from responsibility. It is the maintenance of the inner resource that makes responsibility possible. The first Stoic truth about boundaries is therefore not a permission to be selfish. It is an obligation. If the governing faculty is yours to protect, and the Stoics were clear that it is, then failing to protect it is a failure of duty, not to yourself only, to everyone who depends on you being whole. The philosophical confusion at the heart of most boundary difficulties is the equation of limitlessness with love. The belief that to love someone is to give them whatever they ask, that any limitation placed on what you offer is a reduction of care. The Stoics would have found this incoherent on its face. They understood love, what they called philostorgia, natural affection, as something that requires a stable self to emanate from. You cannot give endlessly from an empty vessel. The vessel has to be maintained. Seneca writes to Lucilius, "I am not born for one corner alone. My country is the whole world, but I must first secure my own territory." The domestic version of this principle is perhaps the most important thing to understand about boundaries. A clear no, delivered honestly and without malice, is more loving than a reluctant yes that breeds resentment. The person who says yes when they mean no does not give more. They give contaminated. This is the point at which the Stoic philosophy becomes most directly practical and most uncomfortable. The dichotomy of control, which we examined in an earlier essay, applies here with full force. When you establish a limit, when you say no, when you protect your time, when you decline a request, the other person's emotional response to that limit is not within your control, and it is not, therefore, your responsibility. This does not mean their feelings do not matter. It means that their feelings are theirs to navigate, just as yours are yours to navigate. Epictetus puts it plainly: men are disturbed not by the things which happen, but by the opinions about the things. If someone is distressed by your no, they are disturbed not by the no itself, but by their interpretation of it, their belief that it means you do not care, their expectation that you should have no limits. You can acknowledge their distress with compassion. You cannot prevent it by abandoning your own limits. If you do, you have merely confirmed that distress is an effective tool for removing your boundaries, and you will never be free of it. The final truth the Stoics offer on this subject is perhaps the most nuanced. A boundary established from fear is a wall. It keeps everything out, including connection, including warmth, including the very things that make a life worth living. A boundary established from values is a gate. It is selective. It allows in what belongs. It keeps out what does not. Marcus Aurelius describes his ideal of human relationship as one of genuine connection between sovereign individuals, each maintaining their own rational faculty, each choosing freely to give what they give. The person who has no boundaries does not have more connection than the person who does. They have less, because they have no self with which to connect. Real intimacy, the Stoics understood, requires two people who are each genuinely present, who each bring something to the encounter, who each chose to be there. You cannot choose freely when you cannot say no. So what does the Stoic philosophy of boundaries actually change in your life this week? The first change is in how you interpret the difficulty of saying no. The Stoics would not call it kindness. They would call it philosophical confusion, a misidentification of what you are responsible for and what you are not. The second change is in what you protect, not your comfort. Comfort is not a Stoic value, but your governing faculty, your capacity to think clearly, to act with integrity, to show up fully in the relationships that matter. The third change, and this is the hardest, is in how you receive others' responses to your limits. With compassion, yes, but without letting their response become the argument for your boundarylessness. Seneca's instruction, claim yourself for yourself, is not an invitation to self-absorption. It is a prerequisite for everything else. You cannot give what you do not first keep. The ancient philosophers were not soft on this point. They did not say, be kind to yourself. They said, preserve the faculty that allows you to be kind at all. They did not say, you deserve rest. They said, without rest, there is no you left to offer anything. And they did not say, your boundaries are valid. They said, your soul is yours, and from that premise, everything else follows. If you want to go deeper into the Stoic framework for living well, not just surviving difficult people, but genuinely building a life of purpose and clarity, the book I would point you to is William Irvine's A Guide to the Good Life. It is the most accessible modern guide to practicing Stoicism, and I have linked the Audible version in the description. The first month is free through that link. The next video in this series asks why, despite understanding all of this, so many of us keep returning to the same patterns, the same kinds of relationships, the same cycles. That video is on screen now. Until then, stay sovereign.